Alex Warner stared out his apartment window at the rainy Washington, D.C. evening. The news played quietly on his old television, showing the same grim reports from the front lines. 15 years of war with the Draxian Empire had left humanity, exhausted and desperate. Alex knew the cost better than most. As a retired Marine colonel, he had led troops during the early campaigns, before a Draxian energy weapon had shattered his right knee and ended his combat career. He sipped his coffee and winced. It had gone cold while he was lost in memories of battles fought across distant stars. The knock at his door was so sudden that he nearly dropped the mug. Alex wasn't expecting visitors, especially not at 9 in the evening. He moved carefully to the door, his bad leg protesting each step. Through the peephole, he saw a woman in a sharp black suit flanked by 2 large men with military posture but civilian clothes. "Colonel Warner," the woman said when he opened the door. "I'm Catherine Nelson, Director of Extra-Dimensional Affairs. May we come in?" Alex had never heard of such a department, but he recognized authority when he saw it. He stepped aside, watching as the 3 visitors entered his small apartment. "Nice place," Catherine said, though her eyes never left Alex's face. "Simple. Practical. Like your service record." "What can I do for you, Director?" Alex asked. "We need you at the Pentagon." "Now." Her tone left no room for questions. One of the men handed Alex a jacket. "It's still raining, sir." 20 minutes later, their black SUV pulled into an underground entrance that Alex, despite his years of service, had never seen before. They passed through 7 security checkpoints, each more stringent than the last. At the final checkpoint, Catherine placed her hand on a scanner, then leaned forward for a retinal scan. "Level 7 clearance," she said. +3. The guard's eyes widened slightly as he looked at Alex. "Yes, ma'am. They're waiting for you." "Who's waiting?" Alex finally asked as they entered an elevator. Catherine studied him for a moment. "How much do you know about Project Olympus, Colonel?" "Never heard of it." "Good." She nodded. "That's as it should be." The elevator descended for what felt like minutes. When the doors finally opened, Alex found himself in a corridor lined with armed guards, each wearing patches he didn't recognize. The air smelled strange, like ozone and something else, something ancient. They walked to a set of heavy doors marked with symbols that hurt Alex's eyes when he tried to focus on them. Beyond those doors was a large circular room filled with military officers and scientists. In the center of the room stood a massive containment chamber made of some dark metal and glowing glass. Inside the chamber floated what appeared to be a man, if a man could be made of swirling crimson energy. The figure was vaguely humanoid, but constantly shifting, its form crackling with barely restrained power. Where its eyes should be, 2 points of golden light stared directly at Alex. General Eleanor Wright stepped forward. Alex recognized her from news broadcasts, the head of all Earth Defense Forces, the most powerful military leader in human history. "Colonel Warner," she said, extending her hand. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Didn't seem like I had much choice," Alex replied, shaking her hand. The general smiled tightly. "No, you didn't, but we appreciate your cooperation all the same." She gestured toward the containment chamber. "What you're looking at is Mars." Alex looked at the swirling red entity again. "Mars? The planet?" "No," General Wright said. "The god. The actual god of war." Alex wanted to laugh, but no one else in the room was smiling. "You're serious?" "Completely. We summoned him 10 years ago to help us fight the Draxians. He's been our tactical advisor, our weapon designer, our ace in the hole." The being in the chamber tilted its head, studying Alex with those golden points of light. A voice that sounded like distant thunder filled the room, though the entity had no visible mouth. "This is the one you would have replaced me?" Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "Replace? What's he talking about?" The general's face hardened. "That's why you're here, Colonel. We're firing Mars, and you're his replacement." Catherine led Alex to a small conference room where Admiral Joseph Carter waited with several thick folders marked Top Secret. The Admiral was a legend, the man who had saved the Sol system during the Battle of Jupiter. "Sit down, Colonel," the Admiral said. You look like you could use a drink. Alex sat across from him. With respect, sir, I could use some answers more. Fair enough. The Admiral pushed one of the folders across the table. The short version is this. Mars has become too soft. He refuses to authorize planetary bombardments, vetoes biological weapons, and insists on sparing Draxian civilian populations even when it costs human lives. Alex opened the folder. Inside were battle plans and casualty projections. The numbers made his blood run cold. At the current rate, Admiral Carter continued, humanity will be extinct within 3 years. Mars won't approve the measures necessary to win this war. So you want to fire a god? Alex said slowly. And put me in his place? How is that even possible? Catherine spoke from the doorway. Project Olympus wasn't just about summoning a god. It was about learning to harness divine energy, to control it. Mars volunteered. Admiral Carter added. He wanted to help humanity. But now he's forgotten what war really is, General Wright said as she entered the room. We need someone who understands that survival sometimes requires cruelty. Alex looked back at the folder, at the plans for weapons that would wipe out entire Draxian worlds. What exactly would I be doing? You would receive Mars's essence, Catherine explained. Not all of it. You're only human after all. But enough to access his knowledge, his power. Enough to guide us to victory. General Wright leaned forward. Before you decide, you should speak with him. Mars requested it specifically. Guards escorted Alex back to the main chamber, but this time everyone else left. Alone with the god of war, Alex felt smaller than he ever had before. They fear me, Mars said, his voice somehow softer now. But not for the reasons they should. Why? Should they fear you? Alex asked. The crimson form shifted almost like a sigh. Because I remember. I remember what they have forgotten. The golden eyes fixed on Alex. Do you know why gods of war exist, Colonel Warner? Alex shook his head. Not to win wars, Mars said, but to end them. Alex stood quietly for a long moment considering the god's words. What do you mean to end wars? Wars end when one side wins. Mars's form shifted and swirled within the containment field. Is that what you were taught? That victory is the purpose of war? The golden lights that served as his eyes seemed to dim slightly. No wonder humanity stands at the edge of extinction. Before Alex could respond, the chamber door opened and Admiral Carter entered. That's enough private conversation. We need to show the Colonel what we're dealing with. The Admiral led Alex to a large room filled with holographic displays. Each screen showed different battles occurring across the galaxy. On one, human ships burned against the backdrop of a blue-green planet. On another, soldiers in powered armor fought through alien ruins. The Draxians hit 3 more colony worlds last week, Admiral Carter said. New Virginia, Titan Base, and Eden Prime. Total casualties, 1.2 million humans. Alex watched as a Draxian cruiser fired on what appeared to be a civilian transport. Why are they so determined to wipe us out? Because they're monsters, the Admiral said flatly. They've refused every peace offer. They torture prisoners. They target civilian populations first. He tapped a control panel, and the screens changed to show new images. These are Mars' most recent battle plans. Alex studied the displays. They showed precise surgical strikes, complex maneuvers that would minimize casualties on both sides, and defensive positions around civilian centers. These are brilliant, Alex said. Clean, efficient, and completely inadequate, Admiral Carter replied. Look at the timeline. The simulation played out. In it, human forces gradually pushed back the Draxian fleet, secured key positions, and established a defensive perimeter around Earth's remaining colonies. The process took years. We don't have years, the Admiral said. Here's what our analysts suggest instead. The displays changed again. Now they showed massive bombardments of Draxian worlds, biological weapons deployed against their civilian populations, and devastating strikes against their home planet. This would be genocide, Alex said quietly. This would be survival. Admiral Carter corrected. The projections are clear. With Mars's approach, we lose 2 million more humans before we reach a stalemate. With ours, we end the war in 6 months. Alex turned away from the screens. And what do we become in the process? Survivors, the Admiral said simply. The winners, the ones who get to write the history books. He handed Alex another folder. Review these files. They contain everything we know about the Draxians, plus all of our strategic options. We need your decision by morning. Alex returned to a small room they had prepared for him. It contained a bed, a desk, and nothing else. He spent hours reading through the files, learning about an enemy humanity had fought for 15 years. Near midnight, the air in the room seemed to thicken. A faint red glow appeared, condensing into a translucent form of Mars. They're watching us, the god said, his voice much quieter now. But I can shield this conversation briefly. Alex set down the folder. How are you here? I thought you were contained. They can trap my power, but not my awareness, Mars replied. Listen carefully, Colonel. The files they gave you are incomplete. What's missing? The truth. Mars' form flickered slightly. The Draxians didn't start this war. Humanity did. Alex felt a chill run through him. That's not possible. Everyone knows they attacked our colony on Proxima Centauri without warning. After, human mining corporations stripped 3 of their sacred birth worlds, Mars countered. Worlds whose existence was hidden from Earth's civilian government. Why would corporations do that? Because Draxian worlds contain the highest concentration of quantum crystalline in the galaxy. The fuel that powers your faster-than-light drives, your energy weapons, your shield generators. Mars moved closer. The corporations made trillions, while your soldiers died by the millions. Alex thought of all the friends he had lost, the troops under his command who never came home. If this is true, why haven't you told anyone? I have tried, Mars said. But gods are not allowed to lead, only to advise. And those in power hear only what they wish to hear. The red form began to fade. My time grows short. If you accept their offer, you will have access to my memories. You will see the truth for yourself. Wait, Alex called out as Mars faded. Why me? Why did they choose me? The god's voice came as a whisper. They didn't. I did. Alex slept poorly that night. When morning came, Catherine Nelson arrived to escort him to a meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Around a large table sat the most powerful military leaders of Earth and its colonies. General Wright motioned for Alex to sit. Have you reviewed the materials, Colonel? Yes, Alex said. And I have questions. We're running out of time for questions, Admiral Carter said. The ritual to bind Mars back to his cosmic realm is ready. We need to know if you'll accept his power and guide our forces to victory. Alex looked around the table. What if Mars is right? What if there's another way to end this war without becoming monsters ourselves? The room fell silent. Then General Wright leaned forward. Mars showed you his plans? He showed me enough, Alex replied. I know his strategy would work. It would just take longer. Time we don't have, the general insisted. The Draxians have pushed us back to our final defensive line. Earth itself could be attacked within months. A colonel that Alex didn't recognize spoke up. Sir, with respect, maybe we should consider Mars's approach. My troops report that recent Draxian attacks have been less aggressive, almost as if they're responding to our own restraint. Alex finished. Admiral Carter slammed his hand on the table. This is precisely why we need new leadership. This softness is contagious. The Draxians understand only strength. If we show weakness, they will destroy us completely. The Joint Chiefs voted. The decision was unanimous. Mars would be dismissed. Alex would receive his power. As they prepared to leave the room, General Wright approached Alex privately. I know you have doubts, she said. We all do. But sometimes survival requires hard choices. Alex nodded slowly. Yes, he said. I'm beginning to understand that very well. The ritual chamber was deep beneath the Pentagon, even below level 7. Alex followed Catherine and General Wright down a narrow spiral staircase that seemed to go on forever. The air grew colder with each step. This facility predates the building. Above, Catherine explained. It was built during the Second World War when humanity first discovered how to contact the cosmic realm. You've summoned other gods before Mars? Alex asked. General Wright nodded. A few. None stayed as long as he has. They entered a large circular room with strange symbols carved into the floor and walls. Scientists in white lab coats adjusted equipment while soldiers stood guard at each entrance. In the center of the room was a circular platform where Mars floated, contained in a field of blue energy. The dismissal ritual will take 3 hours, Catherine said. During that time, you'll be prepped to receive a portion of Mars' essence. Not all of it. No human could contain the full power of a god, but enough. Alex watched as technicians prepared a second platform beside Mars. And if I refuse? General Wright's eyes hardened. That's not an option, Colonel. The decision has been made. You mean you'd force this on me? We would prefer your cooperation, Catherine said. But national security takes precedence over individual choice. Alex looked at the god of war, whose golden eyes seemed to be studying him. Can I speak with him again before we begin? Catherine glanced at General Wright, who nodded reluctantly. 5 minutes, no more. They left Alex alone with Mars. The containment field hummed softly in the quiet room. They're afraid you'll convince me to help you escape, Alex said. There is no escape for me, Mars replied. Not now. The binding is already beginning. His form seemed less solid than before, edges blurring slightly. But you still have a choice. Do I? They made it clear that refusing isn't an option. There is always a choice, Colonel Warner. Even when all paths seem dark. Mars moved closer, to the edge of his containment field. Once you receive my essence, you will have access to my memories, my knowledge. You will see the truth about this war. And then what? What am I supposed to do with the truth? What humans have always done with truth, Mars said. Use it to change the world. Before Alex could ask more questions, Catherine and the others returned. Technicians guided Alex to a small room where he changed into a simple white jumpsuit. Medical staff attached sensors to his chest, head, and arms. The transfer process is untested, a doctor warned him. There may be side effects. What kind of side effects? Alex asked. Heightened aggression, violent impulses, difficulty controlling emotions. The doctor wouldn't meet his eyes. The human mind isn't designed to contain divine power. Wonderful, Alex muttered. They led him back to the main chamber where Mars now looked visibly weaker. His crimson form flickered like a candle in the wind. The god's eyes found Alex's, and a sense of calm determination passed between them. The ritual began. Scientists activated equipment that hummed and pulsed with strange energies. Military officers watched from behind protective barriers. Catherine stood beside a man in a black robe who began chanting in a language Alex didn't recognize. As the chant continued, threads of crimson energy began to detach from Mars, floating in the air between the two platforms. Alex felt a strange pressure building in his head like a storm about to break. Prepare for phase 2, Catherine called out. The robed man raised his hands and the crimson threads moved toward Alex. As they touched his skin, pain shot through his body. He gritted his teeth, determined not to cry out. Images flooded his mind. Battles fought thousands of years ago. Civilizations rising and falling. Weapons changing from stone to bronze to steel to atomic fire. He saw Mars guiding generals throughout history, sometimes toward victory, sometimes toward peace. Then he saw the Draxians. Not as enemies, but as they truly were. A species of philosophers and scientists who had achieved harmony with their world. He saw human corporations arriving secretly on their sacred birth worlds, mining operations, destroying ancient temples and breeding grounds. He saw the Draxian leaders pleading with human representatives, offering to share their resources if only their holy sites could be protected. and he saw those pleas ignored. The attack on Proxima Centauri had been an act of desperation after years of unanswered diplomatic efforts. The Draxians had tried to target only military installations, but their weapons had been imprecise. The civilian deaths had been a tragic mistake, one that the Draxian leadership had tried to apologize for. But by then, Earth's military-industrial complex had what it wanted, a war that would justify massive spending and expansion. "Stop the ritual!" Alex shouted, trying to break free from the energy threads that now wrapped around his body. "This is all based on lies." General Wright stepped forward. "He's becoming unstable. Increase the suppression field." Alex felt a wave of pressure pushing down on him, making it hard to move, hard to think. But the truth he had seen burned in his mind like fire. "The Draxians wanted peace," he gasped. "They still do. We're fighting this war for profit, not survival." "That's Mars talking, not you," Catherine said. "The transfer is affecting your mind." "No." Alex fought against the pressure. "I've seen the evidence, the records, the communications that were hidden from the public." Admiral Carter approached, his face tight with anger. "This is exactly why we need to complete the transfer. Mars has corrupted your thinking already. Once we've properly contained his essence within you, we can control those pacifist tendencies." Alex realized with horror what they intended. They didn't want Mars's knowledge or wisdom. They wanted his power, stripped of the compassion and perspective he had gained over millennia. In that moment, Mars's form suddenly flared with brilliant light. The containment field around him flickered and failed. Alarms blared throughout the chamber. "Full lockdown," General Wright shouted. "Containment breach." Mars floated free, his crimson form growing larger, the golden points of his eyes fixed on Alex. "Now, Colonel Warner, the choice is yours." Catherine and the robed man rushed to activate backup systems. Soldiers raised weapons, though all knew bullets would be useless against a god. Alex stood, in the center of chaos, crimson energy still swirling around him, and made his decision. Time seemed to slow as Alex stood surrounded by chaos. The crimson energy connecting him to Mars pulsed with increasing intensity. In that moment of connection, he understood what the god was offering. Not just power, but purpose. "Shoot him!" General Wright shouted, pointing at Mars. Guards raised their weapons, but before they could fire, Alex stepped forward. "Stop. This war is built on lies, and I can prove it." Mars's form began to shrink, the energy flowing more rapidly into Alex, not being forced, but freely given. Alex felt his mind expanding, filling with knowledge that spanned centuries. "Colonel, Warner is losing control," Catherine said. "Sedate him immediately." Medical staff moved toward Alex with injectors, but he raised his hand and a wave of crimson energy pushed them back gently. Not hurting them, just keeping them away. "I won't be part of this deception anymore," Alex said. His voice had changed, resonating with new authority. "I've seen the truth in Mars's memories. We need to end this war, not escalate it." Admiral Carter stepped forward. "You're talking treason, Colonel." "I'm talking about saving lives, human and Draxian." Alex turned to face the military leaders. "Mars wasn't too soft. He was too wise. He saw what you've been hiding for 15 years. The god's form was barely visible now, most of his essence transferred to Alex. What remained looked at Alex with approval before fading entirely. Using his new abilities, Alex projected images into the air, memories from Mars, showing the original communications from the Draxians, the corporate mining operations, the covered-up peace offers. "These are fabrications," General Wright insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. "These are records from Mars' direct observations," Alex countered. "A god who has witnessed every human war for thousands of years. He has no reason to lie." Catherine approached cautiously. "What are you planning to do, Colonel?" "First, I'm going to show everyone the truth." Alex closed his eyes, focusing his new powers. The crimson energy surrounding him pulsed outward, connecting to communication systems throughout the building. Across the Pentagon, in every office and meeting room, the same images appeared, evidence of the war's true origins. Alex made sure the transmission reached the White House, Congress, and major news networks as well. You can't do this. Admiral Carter lunged toward the control panel, but Alex's energy field held him back. It's already done, Alex said. But showing the truth is only the first step. Now we need to make it right. General Wright drew her sidearm. I won't let you betray your species, Warner. Whatever Mars has done to you, you're still human, remember that. Alex looked at her with sadness. I remember everything now, including what being human really means. It's not about winning at any cost. It's about doing what's right, even when it's difficult. Security teams are coming, Catherine warned, checking her tablet. You have maybe 5 minutes before this room is swarming with special forces. I don't need 5 minutes. Alex concentrated again, focusing on a specific memory from Mars, a direct communication channel to the Draxian High Command, something the god had discovered but never had the authority to use. In orbit above Earth, all communication satellites suddenly aligned, creating a signal powerful enough to reach across 17 star systems. On the main screen in the ritual chamber, a new image appeared. A Draxian elder, her scaled face showing surprise as the unexpected channel opened. I speak with the voice of Earth, Alex said, choosing his words carefully. Not as an enemy, but as someone who seeks truth and reconciliation. We have learned of the great wrong done to your people. The Draxian elder's 6 eyes blinked in succession. Who are you? You are human, yet you speak with the voice of a cosmic being. I carry the essence of the one you know as the Red Warrior, Alex explained, using the Draxian term for Mars. I know about the sacred worlds. I know about the unanswered peace offers. I am here to answer them now. General Wright aimed her weapon at Alex. This is your last warning. Stop this transmission immediately. If you shoot me, Alex said calmly, you'll have to explain to the world why you killed the person trying to end a war that has claimed billions of lives. The truth is already spreading. There's no going back. On the screen, the Draxian elder conferred with others off camera. When she returned her attention to Alex, her posture had changed subtly. We have waited many cycles for this moment, she said. Our people grow weary of war, as yours must also. What do you propose? An immediate ceasefire, Alex replied. Followed by direct negotiations with full transparency. No more secrets, no more corporate interests controlling the agenda. Just 2 species trying to find a way to coexist. The doors to the ritual chamber burst open as security teams entered, weapons raised. But they paused, uncertain, when they saw the Draxian elder on the screen and heard her response. We accept these terms, the elder said. The ceasefire begins now. All Draxian forces will stand down. The security team leader looked to General Wright for orders. She stood frozen, her weapon still pointed at Alex, but her resolve visibly wavering. Lower your weapon, General, Alex said gently. It's over. We won, just not the way you expected. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Admiral Carter stepped forward. Stand down, he ordered the security teams. All of you. He turned to General Wright. It's over, Eleanor. If what Warner has shown us is true, we've been fighting the wrong enemy all along. Slowly, reluctantly, General Wright lowered her weapon. The President will need to be involved, Congress, the Allied nations. Of course, Alex agreed. This is just the beginning. Catherine approached him, studying the crimson energy that still flickered around him. Mars is gone, isn't he? Completely transferred? Alex nodded. Not gone. Transformed. His knowledge lives on, but the perspective is different now. Human. And what does that make you? She asked. Alex looked down at his hands, watching the energy flow beneath his skin. Something new, he said. Not quite a god, not just a man. He looked back at the screen, where the Draxian elder waited. Someone who can build bridges between worlds. 6 months after the ceasefire, Alex stood at the window of his new office in the International Peace Center. The building, constructed in Geneva, served as the headquarters for human Draxian relations. Outside, protesters and supporters alike gathered daily, their signs and chants visible from 20 floors up. The transition had not been easy. When the truth about the war's origins spread, riots erupted in major cities across Earth and its colonies. The corporations responsible faced massive lawsuits and criminal charges. Several CEOs were now in prison. Others had fled to distant planets beyond Alliance jurisdiction. General Wright had resigned her position the day after the ceasefire. Admiral Carter, surprisingly, had become one of Alex's strongest allies, working tirelessly to reform military policy and oversight. "The delegation from New Virginia has arrived," said Lisa Patel, Alex's assistant. "They're waiting in the main conference room." Alex nodded. New Virginia had suffered some of the worst attacks in the final years of the war. Their representatives had been among the most reluctant to accept peace. And the Draxian ambassador? "Already there," Lisa replied. Ambassador Krell brought 3 aides this time. Alex felt the energy within him shift slightly. Even after 6 months, he was still adjusting to sharing his consciousness with the essence of Mars. The gods' memories and knowledge remained accessible, but less overwhelming now. They had found a balance. In the conference room, tensions were immediately apparent. The human delegation sat rigidly on one side of the table, while Ambassador Krell and her aides maintained a respectful distance on the other. "Thank you all for coming," Alex began. "Today we'll be discussing the restoration efforts on New Virginia and the return of sacred artifacts from the Temple of First Light." Jake Sullivan, the lead representative from New Virginia, leaned forward. "With all due respect, Mr. Warner, my people are still burying their dead. We lost 300,000 civilians in the attack on Porter City, and now we're supposed to hand over artifacts to the very aliens who killed them?" Ambassador Krell's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of distress that only Alex, with Mars's knowledge, could recognize. "The attack on Porter City was conducted by the military regime that no longer holds power on my world," Krell said. "The new council has officially apologized and offered reparations." "Apologies don't bring back the dead," Sullivan countered. Alex felt the room's energy darkening. This was the challenge they faced at every meeting, the weight of 15 years of hatred and loss pressing down on fragile new beginnings. "Mr. Sullivan," Alex said gently, "I lost friends in this war too. I led troops who never came home." He touched his bad knee briefly. "But I've also seen what few humans have, the complete truth of this conflict. Both sides were manipulated. Both sides committed acts they now regret." He stood and walked to the center of the room. With a slight gesture, he summoned a small amount of the crimson energy that now lived within him. The display was minimal, just enough to remind everyone of his unique perspective. "The Temple of First Light contains birth records for thousands of Draxian family lines," Alex explained. "To them, it's like a combination of a church, a historical archive, and sacred burial ground." Sullivan frowned. "And to us, it's a strategic location that overlooks our capital city. What if this is just a ploy to regain a tactical advantage?" Ambassador Krell's aide began to protest, but Alex raised his hand. "That's a fair concern, which is why I propose a joint human Draxian custodianship of the temple grounds. Shared security, shared access, shared responsibility." The room fell, silent as both delegations considered this. "It would be unprecedented," Krell finally said. "This entire piece is unprecedented," Alex replied. "We're writing a new chapter here." By the end of the day, they had reached a tentative agreement. Not perfect, but progress. As the delegates filed out, Catherine Nelson entered. She now served as Earth Security Coordinator for Interspecies Relations. "That went better than expected," she said once they were alone. Alex nodded. "Small steps. Every day. A little better than the last." "The President wants an update on your condition," Catherine said, changing the subject. "The medical team is concerned about the long-term effects of hosting a divine essence." Alex smiled. "Tell them I'm fine. Mars and I have reached an understanding." Catherine studied him. "You've changed, Alex. Not just the power, but something deeper." "Perspective," he replied. "I've seen war through the eyes of someone who witnessed every conflict in human history. I've felt the weight of all those deaths, All that suffering. He looked out at the city below. Mars wasn't too soft. He had simply learned what humanity forgot, that the true victory isn't defeating your enemy, but turning them into allies. Later that evening, Alex returned to his apartment. Unlike the sparse military housing he once occupied, this place felt like a home. Books lined the walls, paintings added color, and large windows offered a view of Lake Geneva. As he sat in quiet meditation, he felt Mars's presence stir within him. "They're beginning to understand," Alex said aloud to the empty room. The presence didn't reply in words, but Alex felt a sense of agreement, of cautious optimism. A notification chimed on his tablet. The Draxian Council had approved the joint custodianship proposal. The first such arrangement in history, former enemies becoming partners in preserving something sacred. It was a small victory, but meaningful, and it had come not through force, but through understanding and respect. Alex closed his eyes and let himself sink deeper into the shared consciousness he now inhabited. There, among the memories of ancient battles and fallen empires, he found newer images forming, humans and Draxians working side by side to rebuild, children from both species learning each other's languages. The slow, difficult birth of something that had never existed before, true peace between worlds. Mars had been dismissed for being too soft, too unwilling to embrace total war. In his place, humanity had hoped to create a weapon that would ensure their survival at any cost. Instead, they had created something unexpected, a bridge between enemies, a voice for reconciliation, a force for peace more powerful than any weapon. As the sun set over Geneva, Alex Warner, once a simple soldier, now something more, smiled at the irony of it all. Humanity had fired its god of war for being too soft, only to discover that this softness was actually strength, the hardest kind of strength there is.